Ow. Alright guys, for today's video, I was thinking, first of all, I was thinking, what kind of video can I make for this week? What kind of video can I make that's pretty quick because I don't have a whole lot of time to do anything like super interesting? And then I thought, okay, hey, what's kind of the most important tool to have maybe in your garage and all that stuff that you might not even think about that you could get some real good use out of? And I think it's these, a pair of calipers. Now, for this video, we're going to have to use imagination because the battery's dead in it. And this is a pair of digital calipers and nothing's going to be popping up on the screen. So we're going to have to, use our imagination like you're in third grade and you have a hot teacher. And think of all the classy things you would do to said person as you were just starting to sow your wild oats. And, puberty starts attacking you. Anyways, this is a caliper. This is a digital version. They make several versions. Other versions that have a dial on it. They have another version called a vernier caliper that has like another little ruler-looking scale on the bottom. The digital caliper kind of gets rid of that ruler scale and takes care of it digitally, obviously. This is a metric and standard version of caliper. As you can see up here, we have the standard inch here and millimeter up here for the metric version. And on here you have a on-off switch, or on, off, and then a zero switch. Your on switch, obviously you press it on, it turns it on. Also, what you do, at least on this pair here, is you would press it to pick which units you want to be in. Whether standard or metric, you either press it and it would pop up saying inch here or millimeter, and you press it again, then you have off right here is very important, and it's your zero button. So imagine if you turn this on, your caliper is all the way down here and the jaws are touching. You turn it on, it should say zero. If it doesn't, you would press the zero button and it drops it down to saying zero. Because what you don't want is, if you have it out here randomly and you zero it here, you're going to get an inaccurate dimension. And what you also don't want too is trying to zero on something that is too soft to where you won't get a proper reading. But the zero function zeroes it out so you know that's a start stop point, good to go. Usually too, when you have a digital caliper, if you have it out here and you forget to close it in zero, whatever, you turn it out here, usually when you start it back up this point, it'll start up zeroed out. But in anyways, that's what the zero is for. Now I'll caveat that by saying, if you wanted to use something as like a baseline distance, we'll get to that later of the 0 point function, but I'll show you what I mean by that. So first of all, for the calipers here, you have a fixed end, you have a wheel, you have a lock up here at the top. The lock will be loose and you roll the wheel out. As you'll see, the end is fixed. Obviously it fixes and the rest moves. So this area is for measuring outside diameter. These two jaws are for measuring inside diameter. And there's a special trick on the back that they like to show you as something that they don't really advertise, but it's something that you can use. And let me go over that really quick. Well, let me go over all this. So I have here standard bolt, okay? I honestly don't know what this bolt is. So if I were measuring this with the calipers, okay? Say I want to figure out what this is. If it was digital, it would pop up and tell me. I don't know if this is in standard or metric. And this would be much easier if I had a battery in it to show you, but I can use this caliper to tell me if it is standard or metric, because there is a difference in what size fits what. So imagine this was coming up. I open it up and then I close it and I don't squeeze too hard, okay? And it would pop up a reading, like say it was in inches, and it would pop up some crazy thing that like a wrench wouldn't be, to like some 30-second, what was this? A little over half inch. So it'd be like 5.5, 0.0374 something ridiculous that doesn't work out to an actual number that a wrench would actually be in. So I know it's like, okay, well that wouldn't be standard. So I would click this button and then it would pop up switching to metric, and it would come and say 14 millimeters, because I can look at the graph up here, the Focus. If I count the little notches there, every little notch is a millimeter. And when I close on here, I can see that the last one that lines up with the body of this is the 4. So that'd be 14. So I know I'm dealing with a metric wrench. So I wouldn't go just grab a bunch of different wrenches out of my toolbox to try and see what fits. I know that I need to go grab, in order to do this, either a 14 millimeter wrench or 14 millimeter socket to use this bolt. Now, what is the diameter of this bolt? Well, so when it comes to bolts, the diameter is not from the outside of the threads to the outside of the threads. Okay, that's the threads thickness of it. The actual diameter of the bolt is, focus. Well, if you can see in there, it doesn't want to focus on the bolt. But if you look at the diameter of the bolt, will actually be in the valley of one thread to the valley of the other thread. You can't really measure that too much with a caliper, but what you can do is measure the outside of the bolt like this. See what it pops up. It says it's over 10 millimeters, so you would kind of guess a size down below that to get whatever the shaft diameter is, and you'll go by what a normal sort of bolt diameter would be. I think this would be considered an M10. Since it's at over 10 millimeters in this, M10s, they go like M8s, M6s, and 5s. That's the diameter across the shaft of the bolt. Okay? Another thing we can do with this is, I don't know what the overall length of this is. And this is where the third special kind of thing comes in. Now I can kind of measure from this bottom point here to kind of edge and try and guess that that's not super accurate. I could try also do the same thing with here. But if we take the caliper and we flip it over, this is what we use called step dimensions. As you'll see, there's a little notch that comes up here. So this slides down here. What I will do is I'll take the flat point of my bolt. I will lock it and hold it solid up onto that, and then I'll come and raise this up until that touches. Then I flip it over and it tells me that it is 25 millimeters long. So 20 is an M10, 25 millimeter long bolt. Okay. Now what you can also do is take the calipers and kind of figure out the thread pitch. For metric stuff, it's across 5 millimeters or something like that. For standard stuff, it would be across an inch. Okay. So let's, just to make it easier math-wise, just to show you this here, imagine this is an inch long bolt, which is roughly an inch. Okay. So what you do is you would line up, you would pick 2 points. You'd start maybe where, or even we'll go with a 1/2 inch because this isn't long enough. What we'll do is we'll go down to a 1/2 inch or something. And then we pick 1 point here on one of the top of the threads and go down to where it ties into other topper threads, and you would count the amount of threads in between those. That'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. So that'd be 8 there per 1/2 inch. To be an inch, because SAE standard is threads per inch, you would multiply the number by 2. And that gives you your thread per inch, because we measured in a 1/2 inch because our bolt isn't long enough. That gives you thread per inch. So that is how we can use a pair of calipers, simply just to tell us all the information we need about the bolt. Okay. Now, another reading we have here. So calipers, not only does it measure external dimensions, it can also measure internal dimensions. Okay. So imagine, if we will, that we have something from one of these stupidest things ever put on cars, a smog pump. That just so happens to, I don't know, randomly be sitting around your garage for some reason. There would be a hose that goes on this side, but I don't know what hose that is. I can take my caliper. I would measure that. And it's at 0.625. So that'd be 5/8 of an inch, right? Okay, so that would be a 5/8 inch hose. So now I'm like, okay, well, I know the outside diameter is a 5/8 inch hose. Do I have any 5/8 inch hose around the shop? So let's see. So now we'll take it and we'll go and we'll measure. We'll try and get it as round as possible. We'll open this. measured the inside diameter like that. Oh, hey, who would know? That's also a 5/8 inch inside diameter hose. So that hose will fit on that. And then if I really want to know the thickness of it, I can measure the thickness of the wall there, okay? So that's how we can use the outside and inside to make sure things kind of go together. Another thing that beauty about the calipers is we can measure hole depth. On the back side here, you'll look, and it gets excited the more you open it up, all right? It's like you. Imagine you're in 3rd grade thinking about the things your hot teacher, and you know this sort of thing happens. Okay, anyways, you have something that you want to measure the depth of. You would take it, you would set this on top, and you would slide that down, and it's all nice and flat. You slide that down until it stops, and then this would also be giving you the reading here. If a digital reading doesn't pop up, it'll show it here. 0.7 of an inch, just shy under 20 millimeters. So what that whatever put out here on the depth gauge, that's what the depth of that would be. And then there is another use of this that is very situationally dependent. Depends on what size you have here. Depends on what you're actually working on. But imagine you want to just transfer the size of something to something else. You don't care what the actual dimension of it is, the lengthwise or anything like that, and you don't have a tape measure handy. You don't have like a like, I don't know, like a piece of string or like random boards or whatever, or a pencil or something, but you do have a pair of calipers. You do have a pair of calipers. So what you can do with this, if I just want to transfer dimensions, well, the caliper's too small to measure it this way or to get a size. I'm using this box as a demonstration here, but I want to transfer the length from the inside of this side to the inside of that side without measuring anything. So the box like this, what I can do is I can take my caliper, put it flat against here, and I can open it up, get it excited, and keep opening until the depth gauge comes out and hits one side while the other side is sitting there. Lock it in place to make sure it doesn't move. And then I just take this, which is now whatever that distance is. It doesn't even matter. I'm not concerned about trying to know what that is, but I can now take this, go over to, say if I'm cutting a piece of wood or a piece of metal or something that I need to cut to fit in whatever. I set this down. I either put this on the end and then mark that length there, or however I got to do to cut wherever I'm cutting, put there, mark there, and that is the length of the piece that I need to cut to fit inside this, no matter what the size of that is. And this works depending on if the caliper you have is appropriate for the size of the thing you're cutting. Okay, so those are a few of the things that you can do with the caliper. The outer diameter, inside diameter, depth gauge are definitely the most known about things. The step gauge is supposed to be the secret trick of that, and just the transferring of the dimensions thing is probably not a lot that other people really know about, but it's just a way of kind of getting one dimension from one thing to another without even caring about what it is, just transferring a size, as opposed to going and then trying to keep your arms from moving as you walk across to do whatever. Okay, this is how you use a caliper. These are ways you can use a caliper. I'm sure there's far more ways other people may know about. If you do, go ahead, let everyone know. This will be the most precise way of measuring that you can measure things, and this can save you a whole lot of time from just grabbing a shit ton of wrenches or sockets and going and just seeing, does that fit, does that fit, does that fit, does that fit? You just measure it once, be done with it, know exactly what size you need. This is a great tool to have for your garage or around your house or whatever. If you do any sort of machine work, this is like you needed. You can't do anything without this sort of tool. But yeah, if you have a caliper, rocking. Now you know how you can kind of use it and maybe use it in different ways you didn't know about. If you don't have a set of calipers, they're not expensive. Go ahead and get you one and put it in your toolbox for later. All right, guys, that's all I got for today. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that stuff. And I'll see you next time.